Hi everybody, Sandy here from Sandi Cooks. Today I am going to be making an apple pie. We're going over to some friends' houses for dinner and I got asked to make dessert, so I'm going to make apple pie. You might notice I'm wearing the same shirt as another video when I made homemade ice cream. I'm doing both of those this weekend because hopefully I'll be able to take the homemade ice cream with the apple pie tomorrow over to the friends. That's the goal. Why am I out of breath? Anyway, to start this, I need to make the crust. So I'm going to make a short crust. For apple pie, I'm going to do a top crust also, and I may do it as a lattice. I've never done that before. So I thought maybe I would try it. All right, so I'm going to make a double batch of a short crust pastry dough, which is really very simple. And it'll go into the refrigerator for a few hours, and then we'll roll it out to make the crust tomorrow and assemble the pie tomorrow. All right, so come along with me. We'll make this crust and we'll finish it up tomorrow. Okay, so short crust pastry is about as easy as it gets. The recipe is, for this, is 1.25 cups of flour with 1 cup of butter and a little bit of water, and that's it. So that's 1 cup. Now I'm making a double batch. So I'm going to do 2.5, right? 1.25 times 2 is 2.5. So that's 1.5. Two. Two and a half. All right, that's it for the flour. All right, so this calls for a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, but I've got a double batch, so here's a full teaspoon. And then take your butter directly out of the freezer. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. You want your butter as cold as possible. So what we're going to do here, oh my God, I'm really on the struggle bus, as my kids would say. There we go, okay. Get the other one out too. It's 1 stick for each recipe, so 2 sticks because I'm making a double recipe, 1 for each. For the top crust, 1 for the bottom crust. All right, so these, we're just gonna cut into some smallish cubes. Don't touch them a lot with your hands because you're gonna start heating the butter up. We don't want to heat the butter up. We want the butter as cold as possible. So don't touch it if you can avoid it. Okay? Obviously you can't at the end. Although I could have used a bench scraper. Okay, 1 stick of butter. Okay, cut this one. Okay. And this way, I could have used a bigger knife for this. It would have made that a little easier. All right, there's our second stick of butter. All right. And what it says to do, get our lid here. Can you see this there? You can't. All right, let me move it here. Not that you can see a lot of it. Let's do that. Okay? And pulse it. Whoops. We're going to pulse it until it is the consistency of sand. And boy, am I making a mess here. That's okay. Essentially, we're turning all those chunks of butter into tiny little pieces here. Okay? Then it says to use 1/4 cup of ice cold water. I just took ice out of this. And we're gonna add this a little at a time because we just want to bring this dough together. I don't know if you can see it. It's starting to bind together a little bit. Let's take a look. And it's still a little dry. It's like sand now, but we want it a little bit wetter. So there's the rest of our water. Okay. Then the next step is really easy. People don't like to knead dough. Don't worry about it. You're only going to knead this a few times just to bring this mixture together. So a little flour down. Take this out. We're going to turn our dough out here. There we go. This dough off the bottom. Now, remember what I said about the butter and not wanting to handle it too much because it will melt. It will add heat. We don't want that. So, we don't want to knead this like we're making bread. We just want to bring it together. Okay? That's what I'm going to do here. Bring it together. Okay? That's all the kneading I'm going to do is to bring this dough together. We want it crumbly. That's going to give us our shortness. Shortness is some rise and crispiness and flaky, buttery. Okay, just making a disc here. And then this will go into the refrigerator for at least an hour to hydrate the flour, and then we'll cut it in half to make our two different doughs. So that's it. I gotta grab my saran wrap. We're gonna put it in the fridge. All right, I'm trying a new apple pie recipe. I kind of normally just wing it, but I wanted to use a recipe this time. So anyway, it calls for 8 small to medium green apples. You can use, the variety of apples you'd like. I usually do a mix of green apples and a sweeter apple, like a Honeycrisp, but I like the tartness of green apples, and it's nice and refreshing. We're going to be seeing some friends today. We're going over to their house for dinner. They're barbecuing, and so, apple pie. How do you not make apple pie? So anyway, I'm just going to peel these apples. It says to peel, core, and slice them. Peel, core, and slice them and set them aside. Because then we're going to do, instead of just mixing the apples with cinnamon and sugar, coffee grounds, with cinnamon and sugar, we're going to actually make like a roux, it sounds like, and cinnamon and sugar on the stove. So I don't know if you've ever seen one of these. It's an apple core and its sectioner. Great when you have kids, because you can just go like this and go, hey kids, look, apples. But also good for what we're doing, because now I can just slice these. I'm gonna do, I think, 3 cuts each, just like that. Okay, I have 8 apples worth. Whoops, make sure you get all of your skin off. I have 8 apples worth to do, so I'm not going to show you doing this for 8 apples because that will be incredibly boring for you. So, I will do this first one, and then I will bring you back when I have done the rest. Okay, so I know I said I was going to use 8, but I'm looking at the amount of apples here, and I think that 6 is going to be right for a pie tin. At least the size of apples I've got, not 8. So I'm going to not do all 8 of these. But I did want to show you one other thing, because I ended up not using this thing after the second apple, because it's fine. but it actually, doing it by hand, ended up being cleaner and faster. So let me just show you how I did that. Not that you can't cut an apple, I'm sure you can, but now the important thing is that we don't want the core and seeds, or the peel, of course. Okay. There we go. Okay, so what I did here, you just use the center here as a guide. I cut down there, I missed the core, and now you can just very easily slice it into the thickness that you want. There you go. Much easier. Well, maybe not much easier, but just as easy at least. I think it's a little faster doing it this way than the way I did it the first time. So, hey, nothing wrong with experimenting and figuring out what works best for you. Because that's how you enjoy cooking. If cooking is a chore, or you don't enjoy what you're doing, then it's going to show in the food. All right, so there we go. That's 6, let's call them medium green apples. I'm going to set that aside because the next thing I need to do is roll out my crust, at least my bottom crust. All right, so I will do that and I will show you that. Hi everybody. Okay, I got my dough here. I'm at my dining room table because it's the only flat surface I have in my house that's big enough for doing this kind of work. So make sure you give yourself enough space. If I try and do this on like a kitchen counter, it will not work for me. I just don't. The kitchen counters are too small. All right, remember I'm making a top crust and a bottom crust for this. So I'm going to cut this in half. Okay. And I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to put this back in the refrigerator. Okay. Put this over here on the side for a second. Actually, what I'm going to do is make it a little bit rounder. Again, I don't want to do too much with my hands here because I'm warming up that butter. We don't want that butter to heat up and start to melt. We want it to help make our crust nice and flaky. That's our goal, a flaky crust. And you can't see this from over there. I can, but I can see little spots of butter in this, so that's a good thing. That's what we want. Come on. I don't like this cutout over here. I was trying to manipulate that to make it round, but it's not really working. Put a little flour on there. I should have done that. That was stupid. I should have started by doing that. You know, even when you've been making pie doughs and pies for years, you still make stupid mistakes like that. What I'm going to have to do here, when I get this big enough for the pie tin, is I'm going to have to patch this. So I'm going to have to go around the pan, cut off the excess I've got so I can use that. To to patch or fill in where I don't have enough in this section, because I didn't really get this round like I needed to. That's all right. We'll get it done. Not quite big enough. A little thinner. A little thicker up in this area. Like a little bit more flour on here. Here. Okay. Now, the way they do this on the baking shows is they roll this up. Like that. Holy cow. And then they unroll it like that. And then you start tucking it down here a little bit. Okay. Get that down in there. I'm just going to cut around here a little bit. Going to keep it over the edge because it's going to shrink back a little bit. As we push it down here. You could use kitchen shears for this if you want. I'm gonna build up this crust edge a little bit here. Okay, so now, need to do some patching over here. It's really important. We don't want to overwork our dough and have it end up tough or not flaky. We want flaky. Somewhere around there. You can also, they say, you take some of this dough and you can use it to push it in instead of your finger. So you're not adding heat. I don't know. See, that's starting to stick to me already. I need to be done with this very quickly. Because our butter is starting to melt. And we don't want that. Okay, that is good enough. I'm going to go ahead and just put that into the refrigerator right now. Okay, let's turn this on. So the recipe calls for half a cup of unsalted butter. Oh, that's a whole stick, not a half a stick. This isn't going to work. I would have been short. A whole stick of butter is half a cup. So that is what I am using. All right. Half a cup of butter melted. All right, I'm gonna melt this. You don't need to watch me melt it. I'll bring you back when it's melted. I was just looking at this recipe and it does not call for cinnamon. And that can't be. I mean, this is apple pie. You have to have cinnamon in apple pie, or it's not apple pie. So, I think I'll add a teaspoon here, and I'll do it in here after when I add the sugar and stuff, so that it's mixed, because this is going to get poured on everything. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So when you're melting your butter, keep it on low. We don't want this to brown at all. We're not looking for brown butter, so make sure that you're doing it on low, because we don't want the butter, the solids that are in the butter, to start cooking. So yeah, so when this is done melting, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour to it, and we're making a roux, right? And what's that going to do for it? As the apples cook, they're going to give up a whole bunch of liquid, and a roux thickens, right? So this is going to thicken all those juices and give us a nice, thick, luxurious apple pie. You got the apples, you got that sauce, and yeah, okay? So this is actually a little too hot still, because it just kicked up boiling there, so we're almost there. Butter's almost gone. When it's gone, I'll bring you back. Okay, butter's melted, time to add the flour. 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. 1, 2, 3. Turn this down. All right, and mix it, and that's going to form a paste. It's called a roux. Okay, and we're going to stir that because we don't want any lumps. Okay. And we're going to let that go for 2 or 3 minutes to cook it out a little bit. I'm going to move this back to the dining room table for rolling out dough. Okay, so we're just going to cook this here for a few minutes. It says, the recipe says, until fragrant. What we're looking for is just a little bit of kind of nuttiness smell. All right, then we're going to add a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And it says packed brown sugar, so that means you push it down. Okay, make sure it's really, really full. Completely full there. Okay? Turn this down a little. You can smell it. Smells buttery and a little nuttiness, so getting close there. Okay, that's the brown sugar. Need to refill that. Here's my white sugar. Get that ready too. Alright, I think this is good. We're going to add our sugars. 1/2 cup of brown, 1/2 cup of white, 1/4 cup of water, okay? And I'm going to add cinnamon. I know it doesn't call for it, but I'm going to do it. And actually, this has a 1/2 tablespoon, which is 1 1/2 teaspoons. I'm going with that, because apple pie, it's got to have cinnamon. And you could put other stuff in it too, cloves or nutmeg or something if you wanted to, but it's got to have cinnamon. Right? Right? Okay. Recipe says, reduce heat to low and simmer for 3 to 5 minutes. Well, okay. That is my oven having preheated to 425 degrees. So that is ready. Okay, I'm going to put the sugar away. Where's my sugar top? Sugar away. and I'm gonna go refill my brown sugar, and I'll come back in a few minutes when this is further along. You know, I said we were making a roux, but we've put butter and sugar and together and heating it, which is also the way you make caramel, but not with the flour. So this is, I'm not sure what you would call this, but some kind of a flour-based caramel, maybe? I don't know. It does seem to be getting a little thicker. And it's a little too hot, I think, so turn it down a little. It says just to simmer. Alright, this has a couple more minutes to go. I don't know if you can see it bubbling away in there. Hopefully you can. You can certainly hear it, I hope. It's just simmering away nicely. And it's been... Ouch! Ooh, that was really hot. I got a little splatter on my finger. Anyway, so this has been going 3 to 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. Take it off the heat. Alright, next step is to put the apples, place that, I'm really having trouble talking today. Place the sliced apples into the bottom crust. Alright, so that's what we're going to do here. Alright, so there's my crust again. Here's my apples. Hopefully you can see me. Yeah, you can. Good enough. And we're going to place these in here. You could dump them in a big mush pile if you want. I'm trying to be a little neater about it. It says that you want a mound at the end, a mound in the center is okay or is desired. It said this is a recipe I've never used before. It's certainly not how I've ever made an apple pie before, with pouring this caramel mixture over the top. That's a pretty interesting idea. I'm liking the idea of it. Still couldn't do it without the cinnamon. Yes, I'm obsessed with the cinnamon. I'm not gonna let it go. So the biggest thing I'm doing here is just making sure that they all lie flat. Right, so that, I don't know, so they all lie in the same direction, basically. I'm not worried, you know, normally I might have hit the apples with a little bit of lemon juice to keep them from browning, but these are inside a pie that's going to have brown liquid in it and is going to be baked till it's golden brown. So they're going to be brown anyway. That's why you don't need to put lemon on them right now. But if you don't know that trick, whenever you're doing fruit, even like a fruit salad, if you're putting apples in it, you dip each slice, the exposed flesh of the apple, into some lemon juice, and it won't brown. It won't oxidize. That the citric acid in the lemon keeps the apple from oxidizing, which is what makes it turn brown. Come on, lay flat. We will find out shortly if I should have used more than 6 apples. It's actually looking pretty okay here, so I think I'm okay. Because here's the thing, you know, all these apples, as they cook, they're going to mush. That's why they talk about having a mound in the center. Okay. Given that, I'm going to cut open one more apple because I think I can fit another and it's the right thing to do. So, the pie went back into the fridge. I'm going to go ahead and cut another slice, peel, slice, and cut another apple. And I'll put it on and I'll show you that. Okay, I decided that one wasn't enough, so I actually peeled both of those other ones. So I am using all 8 apples now. Okay, so for anybody keeping score, don't pay attention to what I said earlier about only using 6 apples. I'm going to use all 8. Okay, close now. All right, I would say that is mounded in the middle. That's going back in the fridge. Okay, so I didn't turn the camera on. I thought I did, and I didn't. And I have now created this lattice top, so I'm sorry you didn't get to see it. But essentially, you put 4 strips on one direction. Actually, put 2 on one direction. Lay 1 over the other direction near the edge. Then put the 2 back that are going to go on top of that. Lay back the other 2. Put down another strip. Bring those back. Lay back the other 2. Put down another strip. Lay those back. Bring the other ones forward. So, would have been better to show you, but I'm sorry. All right. Repeat. Yeah, trim excess dough. Pinch to secure. Don't ruin it, Sandy. Just kind of rolling up the extra here and pinching it into the edge of the crust. That. Sorry that I didn't start the video back there. I'm an amateur. Don't do this professionally. Sorry, I'm going to take a little bit more dough here just to help this. Give it enough to grab on. Okay, this is going to go in to the oven. Remember, it's set high. It's at, make sure I tell you the right thing. It's at 425. So what we're going to do is we're going to bake this at 425 initially for 15 minutes, and then we're going to reduce it down. But the other thing is, because fruit pies are notorious for boiling over and making a horrible mess on your pans, I'm going to go tinfoil the pan to put this on. This is going back in the fridge for the moment, and then it's going to go into the oven. Yeah, I almost skipped a really important part. Remember, we made this sauce, roux, caramel stuff. It says to pour this on top of all of this. And give this a quick stir because some of the butter came out. So let's just reincorporate that. It says to pour it, but I'm going to spoon it, I think, because it's just going to go everywhere. It says to do it on the lattice, not just, or it says to make sure you do the lattice and the apples. Brush it onto the lattice if you need to. All right, so I'm just gonna, it's got to seep down in there. It says don't let it ooze over the sides. That's the tricky part. Not sure how you do that. Keep it from doing that. It says make sure you get all the apples, make sure you get the lettuce, but don't let it drip over the sides. Ha! Easier said than done in my book. Know what it smells like? It smells like cinnamon rolls. Trying to get this so that it goes over all the apples without oozing everywhere. I can see how this will make it delicious. I'm not sure how you keep it from oozing. Okay, I have a little brush here, so I am going to make sure it gets on the whole lattice top. This will let me brush it back a little bit too, so. Of course, this caramel is warm. So now it is making the pastry soft. So this needs to go into the oven quickly. Trying to work as quickly as I can here. Oh, no, you don't belong down there. All right, come on. You don't want it to go over the sides because number one, it'll make a mess, but number two, it's wasted, right? That's not in your pie. You want this stuff in the pie. So, you know, try to make an effort not to let it all get away. And don't sweat on your pie, because that would be gross. So that's me not sweating on my pie. Okay, looks like it's all covered. Good. Now it needs to go in the oven, like I said, 450. And I'm an idiot. I forgot to take one of these out to make room. There we go. Pie going in. Okay. Setting my timer for 15 minutes. Start. Okay. 15 minutes. Then it says, at that point, we're going to reduce the temperature to 350 and continue baking for another 35 to 45 minutes. So basically, it's going to cook for an hour. 15 minutes at the first temperature and 35 to 45 at the second temperature. I'm going to go clean up all the mess I made. Okay, my timer's going off for my pie. So I'm going to take this down to 350. Okay, and then I'm going to set my timer to 45 minutes. Alright, my timer's going off on my pie. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that beauty. Turn my oven off. Okay, I'm really happy with that. I have a feeling that that is not going to suck. So, alright, apple pie, new recipe. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
If you enjoyed this video, click the like button. Subscribe to Sandi Cooks so you don't miss out on new recipes.